What's going on, guys? Welcome back. More content for you tonight. Do me a favor, take a moment, hit the like button, subscribe button, criticism in the comment section. As always, Twitter, my username is Shutdown Safety. Joined by Neil Bauer, who's a bit under the weather today, so he sounds like a gremlin, and Danny Jugen. He's here to talk about his patch for Access Football. If you haven't been following the game, you can go back and look at the past few videos I've done. Obviously, he's putting in a lot of work and a lot of effort, and some really exciting additions to the game coming out, one of which is the new uniforms, which have full customization, allow you to go in basically in a PSF format, to speak, and layer things out. You can make custom teams. You can make the super secret NFL teams. So, Danny, why don't we start off with that, and then you can go into what else you've added into the game.
Absolutely. So, like you mentioned, we've got completely moddable uniforms. In addition to the moddable uniforms, kind of in conjunction with that, we have brand new player models that were designed custom for Access Football. We were able to reinvest some of the early game sales money to hire an artist to do that. And what that's allowed us to do is, without getting too technical, we've essentially separated the player into different parts. Whereas before it was all one flat file, so where you couldn't change certain parts of the uniform without changing everybody's. So now what we were able to do is separate the player's body from the individual parts of the uniform. So that it's going to allow us to have different skin types, different uniform types. We can put stripes on the uniforms, logos on the uniforms, all kind of fancy stuff, only limited by creativity at this point. And I give you the home and the away jersey for every single team. It's a simple graphic file. You open up Photoshop, Fireworks, whatever you want to use, and you can edit those, and they will get loaded dynamically into the game when you start it up. You've got customizable uniforms.
Now, I'd seen some people do this, and I looked at it myself. Just for clarification, am I able to change the logos on the menu screen or no?
Not yet. That's going to come most likely in our 2016 version. Just to give you a little bit of information on why we haven't gone ahead and done that. In order to do that, what we really have to do is completely redo the entire user interface. Again, without getting technical, the way things are set up, it doesn't make sense to do it now. And I know that doesn't really answer a lot of questions about why, but just trust me, we have plans to redo the whole thing, and it doesn't make sense to do it now. We know it's important for the users, and it's going to get put in, but now isn't the right time.
Okay, so visually with the game, you've got a pretty big enhancement here with people going in to be able to create, their own visual aspect of the teams the way they want. You've also included a new game mode, which was obviously with the initial release, but not accessible in the coach mode. Can you talk a little bit about what that allows the user to do and how maybe you can enjoy the game separately from actually sitting there and playing every down?
Yeah, so coach mode, first of all, is available both in the regular quick match, which you want to log in, play a quick game. You can do coach mode there. It's also available as a toggle on and off in your regular season mode. So if you want to play a couple matches in coach mode and then switch over to player mode, you can absolutely do that. And what coach mode allows you to do is call the plays without having to control the players. You can just kind of watch the action. And to kind of take it one step up from there, we included a sideline camera in coach mode, and you can toggle between the normal behind the player's view and the sideline camera at any point during the game. But it gives it a unique perspective, allows you to see things a little bit differently. And if you're one of those people that you want to modify the uniforms, maybe throw some logos on the side of the helmet, in that sideline view, you're going to be able to really take advantage of being able to see those. And one of the things that we plan on adding in the future to coach mode is the ability to actually influence the individual decisions of the players while the game is going on, similar to what a coach would do. So, for example, if you notice that the defense is stacking the box, you can encourage the runner to, hey, look to the outside. I know this play is designed to run on the inside, but look to the outside a little bit, and it will kind of coach the players. It will influence the AI as far as the decision-making process. So again, we wanted to give players who aren't necessarily into the the quick motion and want to control the players and make all the cool actions. We want to kind of approach the game from a different standpoint. We wanted to give them some options and some attention as well.
So, I mean, apart from the game mode, the visuals, obviously, we're talking about something that really has an impact on the final product. You've got another patch coming up then, or is this going to be it for the year?
We've got at least one more that'll come out in September, and it'll either be two kind of medium-sized patches or it'll be one really big patch in September. What we have slated for now, and this is something that we may add to, we're going to implement announcer mods. So you'll be able to actually go in and edit or replace the sound clips that the announcer makes. Several people have said, I'd like to make my own announcer, or I'd like to record my own voice doing it. You'll be able to do that. A couple of the other features, hot routes. You'll be able to select the receiver and give them a hot route on the line of scrimmage. We're going to extend the modding for the player attributes. So right now we've got 6 or 8 attributes that you can have access to changing. We're going to extend those into things like awareness, reaction speed, that sort of thing, just to add a little bit more realism. They'll be able to move the pass circle before the snap is something that several people have wanted, especially with using controllers. It's been difficult for them to throw screen passes because it starts in the middle of the field. And the last thing that we're looking at doing is line shifts on defense. So you'll be able to shift the defensive line left or right, shift your linebackers, move your secondary up into bump coverage, or back them off a little bit if you want. Just some additional commands trying to add a little bit of depth to the gameplay, make it a little bit more realistic is what the community has said that they wanted. So that's what we're going to do.
Now, we didn't touch on it initially, but since you brought up the announcers, the uniforms are something that users can share in between each other. Is the plan for the announcers to be done the same way? So if somebody creates an announcer, that they've recorded off an actual football game, for example, off any network of your choice, they'll have the ability to share these really between themselves then in the game or through another source?
What we're looking at doing, they will be 100% shareable. Everything from the team mods to the individual player roster mods to the uniform mods, everything is simple drag and drop. So you just drop it into the folder, the game will dynamically load it in. As far as sharing, we don't have an official medium set up for the interchange of these mods yet. We're looking at using the Steam Workshop, and to be completely honest, I haven't messed with the Steam Workshop before. I'm talking to a couple people that are more familiar with it, and they're saying that this is kind of what the Steam Workshop is. It's a way for people to share what they've created. We want to encourage people to come up with their own mods. A lot of people are sharing roster mods on the Steam discussion boards. We want to encourage them to create them and share them. So anything that we can do that will kind of facilitate the sharing of created content, we're going to do. So we're absolutely looking into that, and we think the solution is the Steam Workshop.
So obviously you've put in a lot of work this year throughout the release of the game to now continuing on to the future. People that have bought this game or will buy this game are going to continue to see an evolution, not only in what they're getting out of the game, but also with their ability to kind of create what they want it to be and share with others. When we last did the interview, you talked about setting up some type of Kickstarter, trying to get funding to go forward. You talked earlier about reinvesting some of the money back into the game. How are those plans now? I know you said one of the big things you wanted to change with is the animations. How is that progressing, in terms of moving forward? I know you've mentioned 16 a little bit now. It may be a bit premature to talk about it in depth, but how do you feel, as a vision going forward with the game based on where things are currently?
We've been very pleased with the support that we've received with the game so far. Our plans now are kind of where they've been the past couple months. We're going to run a Kickstarter for the 2016 version of the game sometime at the beginning of November. A large percentage of what we hope to raise will go towards animations and the visual aspects of the game. We know that there's a lot of the management side, spreadsheets, looking at numbers, player swapping, player trading, franchise mode that the current version lacks. And that's what people are saying that they really want. So those are the plans for the future. We're absolutely doing a 2016 version. We have a rough feature list already. And something I want to be real transparent about, and hopefully I have been from the start, is I want to make this game what the community wants. The direction that this game has gone since it was greenlit on Steam has been a huge direction shift from where it started out. It was very much an arcade game when it started out, and the community got a hold of it. They got behind it, and they said, "This is a great game, but this is what we really want." They want mod, they want realism, they want control and management, and that sort of thing. And that's the direction that we're going. I very well aware of the fact that without the support of the community, this game's not going to go anywhere. And I want to support them by giving them the game that they want. So that's what we're going to do.
And for the most part, it's been a very well-received game. If you look at the reviews on it, obviously, as I've said, I'm sure you would agree, it's not the game for everyone right now. You've obviously got a very good vision. You spoke about here. You've laid things out. Most importantly, the things that you said you're going to do, you've went out and achieved, and you've given it and delivered it into a final product. I think certainly no matter how anyone feels about the game, you can't discredit the fact that you said this mode was coming. It wasn't there at the release, but it was there 3 months later. You're continuing to evolve the game into something better and different, and you are listening to the community, the feedback gives you, and implementing that into the game. And that's something that no matter what we're talking about in video games, whether it's a football game or not, that's something the consumer wants. So if you guys have a couple minutes, we'll obviously have some links down in the description. You can check out more detailed information about the patch. Obviously, we'll have Danny back on when it comes forward with the next patch and to talk a little bit about the Kickstarter. Neil, I believe, is still here. I know I was concerned, but I think he may have been here the whole time. But obviously, Neil, if you have any questions for Danny, now would be the time for you to get the notepad out and complete those.
You had such wicked banter between the two of you. I've been here the whole time. I've got notes, but I didn't want to disrupt the pentameter that you two had established from the last time that I had missed. But let me real quick, Danny, to say that the pieces that you're putting in place now, the pieces like the sideline camera and the announcer mods and line shifting, and these items, they're going to be all available in the next iteration, right? They're going to be you're going to build upon it, or you're not building from scratch with 16.
No, we're going to build on the 15 version for 16. We're adding on, which is why we didn't do the logo mods now, because it doesn't make sense, because we're going to be continuing to build, if that makes sense at all.
Sure, absolutely. And the one thing that we talked about a bit earlier, and I don't know if our fans will remember, we talked earlier about how this impacts the overall football development, football gaming development as a whole. And when you add things like a sideline camera, and when you listen to the audience, and you're actually implementing these things rather quickly, and I'm not going to take barbs at a game that is out there. There's only one football game that's out there in the console market. But when the audience asks for improved animations, and the audience asks for these things, and it's not responded or not heard or not addressed, it grows really frustrating. So it's really good to see not only can you implement these things, but you're implementing them quickly, and you're implementing them on a product that people have already bought. So you're really showing support for the community. I'll tell you, on behalf of all gamers or gamers ever, I thoroughly appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you very much. We're happy to do it.
And they're on-the-fly improvements. I'm sure there's things, and maybe you want to go through a few of them now if you have a little bit more time, where someone in the community has came to you and said, hey, this is something I want in the game, and you've made time to ensure that that's put into the next version.
Yeah, there's been a lot of little things. Little things like, I'd like to be able to, when I start up the game, if I click to turn the announcer off, I'd like to have that saved. Every time I come into the game, I don't want to have to click, turn the announcer off. So we implemented that. It'll now save those sort of features, so you don't have to mess with it every time. One of the other kind of major things that we put into this patch that we didn't talk about was season stats. the game will track the individual game stats for all the players and teams and that sort of thing. But there was no way to track your team throughout the season. Like, how am I doing in passing yards? Am I crushing everybody? Am I like dead last? Whatever. So we implemented season stats. That's something that they really asked for. And again, in the future, we plan to extend that into individual player stats throughout the season. I'm trying to show some good faith in adding what we can with the time that we have, and showing the fans that we care about what they think, and we're doing our best to get this stuff out there.
Probably no better terms to leave on than you saying that. So, guys, I do appreciate you checking this video out. Again, we will have some links down in the description to refer back to things that maybe have not even been mentioned here if you want to give those a gander. And, of course, I'll be back in the week with more content.